I want you to look at the light coming from the screen in front of you, or better yet, imagine walking outside and looking up at the light from a distant star. We take it for granted, do we not? We think of light as a tiny messenger that travels across the empty void to reach our eyes, and we naturally assume that this trip takes time. After all, in our everyday world, speed is simply distance divided by time. But right there, in that simple, everyday assumption, hides one of the most terrifying and beautiful paradoxes in all of physics. It is a paradox I have spent a lifetime turning over in my mind. You and I live inside a clockwork reality. Seconds tick by, aging us, pulling us inevitably from the past and pushing us into the future, but nature has a strict speed limit, roughly 300,000 kilometers per second. And here's a secret that hides in plain sight. As you move faster through space, your passage through time slows down. But what happens when you hit the absolute limit? What happens to the particle of light itself? For the light entering your eye right now, time does not exist. From the perspective of that beam of light, zero time has passed since it was born in the nuclear furnace of a star 1 billion years ago. It does not age. It does not wait for light. Its creation and its destruction happen in the exact same frozen instant. How can something cross the vastness of the universe if it experiences absolutely no time? These mysteries are too vast, too beautifully complex to explore alone. If this journey through the cosmos stirs something deep within your soul, if you feel that profound spark of curiosity that connects us all, please leave a like. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to the Taste of the Universe. We need minds and hearts like yours in this community to keep unraveling the universe together. Think about a photograph from your childhood. When you look at that frozen moment captured on paper, you can feel the heavy, relentless weight of the years that have passed between then and now. You feel the graying of hair, the changing of seasons, the inevitable march of the calendar. That feeling is what we call the arrow of time. For all of human history, time has been the absolute dictator of our lives. It flows like a deep, wide river, steady and indifferent. It does not care if you are sitting perfectly still in a quiet room or flying across the ocean in a jet plane. We feel in our bones that a second is a second. An hour is an hour. Exactly the same for everyone, everywhere in the universe. This is exactly how Isaac Newton saw the world. He imagined the universe as a giant, perfect clock ticking away in the background. And for most of our everyday lives, this common sense works perfectly fine. If you're driving a car at 60 miles an hour down a long, straight desert highway, and another car passes you doing 80 miles an hour, you know exactly what is happening. You can measure the distance between the cars. You can measure the speed, and the watch on your wrist ticks exactly in rhythm with the watch on the wrist of the driver passing you. You share the same reality. You share the same present moment. But nature does not care about our common sense. Common sense is just a collection of prejudices we acquire before we grow up. To understand why light breaks the rules of reality, we have to completely throw away Newton's clock. We must grasp a deeply hidden truth about the architecture of the universe. Space and time are not two different things. They are not a wooden stage where events happen and a ticking clock on the wall timing those events. They are woven together into a single, unbreakable fabric. We call it spacetime. To understand how this fabric works, I want you to imagine you are walking across a vast, perfectly flat field. You can walk straight north or you can walk straight east. If you walk straight north at a steady, unchanging pace, all of your effort, all of your motion is dedicated to going north. You are not making any progress toward the east at all. Now, suppose you change your direction. You pivot and start walking northeast. What happens? You're still walking at the exact same pace, your legs are moving just as fast, but you are no longer going north as quickly as you were before. You have traded some of your northward motion to gain eastward motion. This is exactly what you are doing in the universe. right at this very moment. But instead of north and east, your directions are space and time. Every single object in the universe, including you, me, the chair you are sitting on, and the planet Earth itself, is constantly moving through spacetime at one absolute, unchanging speed. You are moving through the four-dimensional fabric of the universe at the speed of light. When you are resting in your bed perfectly still, you are not moving through space at all. Therefore, all of your universal speed is directed entirely through time. You are aging at the maximum possible rate. Your watch ticks away the seconds exactly as you expect it to. All your motion is dedicated to moving toward the future. But the moment you stand up and start walking across the room, something profound happens. You have changed your direction in the fabric of reality. You are now moving through space. And because your total speed through space-time is locked and can never change, you must borrow that speed from your movement through time. Your progress into the future physically slows down. To pay for your motion through space, you must sacrifice your motion through time. Now, at the slow, crawling speeds we travel in our everyday lives, driving cars or riding trains, the amount of time we sacrifice is incredibly tiny. It is a fraction of a billionth of a second. Your body would never feel it, but it is happening. The faster you move through space, the slower you move through time. The clock of a man running a marathon is ticking ever so slightly slower than the clock of a man sitting on a park bench. This is not an optical illusion. It is the fundamental mechanics of the universe. If you could build a spaceship that traveled at 99% the speed of light, you could fly away from the Earth, travel for what feels to you like a single year, and return to find that centuries had passed for everyone you ever knew. You would have traveled into the future simply because you diverted almost all of your speed into space, leaving barely a trickle of speed for time. We have established the unbreakable rule of reality. Motion through space eats away at motion through time. But this realization brings us to the edge of a very steep cliff, because now we must look at the one thing in the keep universe that never sits still. Think of turning on an everyday flashlight in the dark. The instant your thumb presses the button, the particles of light, the photons stream outward, but they do not speed up. They do not accelerate the way a car does when you press the gas pedal, gathering momentum second by second. The very moment a photon springs into existence, it is already traveling at the absolute maximum speed the universe allows. 300,000 kilometers per second. Every single drop of its universal motion is poured directly into moving through space. And whether we just figure out together, we establish that if you spend all your motion on space, your account for time goes completely bankrupt. For a particle of light, the clock does not just tick slowly. The clock stops entirely. The gears of time completely freeze. I want you to really hold that thought in your mind, to grasp it tightly, because it is incredibly difficult for our human brains to accept. We are creatures made of time. We are defined by our memories of yesterday and our anxious hopes for tomorrow. We are born, we age, and we fade. But light lives entirely outside of that experience. Let us say you point your flashlight up at the clear night sky and shine it toward the Andromeda galaxy. From our perspective, standing on the wet grass, looking up, that beam of light will travel at its constant speed for to and a death. 500,000 years before it finally hits the dusty surface of a planet in that distant galaxy. We could watch it go, generation after generation, a long, agonizingly slow journey across the black, freezing void of deep space. We would measure the days, the decades, the centuries it takes to cross that immense gap. But now I ask you to imagine you are the photon. You are the particle of light leaving that flashlight. What do you experience? Since your clock has completely stopped, no time passes for you at all, 0 seconds. But the mystery deepens because it gets stranger than just a frozen clock. Space and time, as we discussed, are the exact same fabric. If time stops for you, space must also violently alter its shape. As you move faster, the physical distance you are traveling actually shrinks in front of you. It compresses at the absolute speed of light. Distance contracts to absolutely zero. The universe flattens out into nothingness. For the photon leaving your flashlight, the Andromeda Galaxy is not 2.5 million light years away. It is right here. The exact spot where the photon is born is the exact same spot where the photon is destroyed. The journey takes no time, and the journey covers no distance. From the perspective of the light itself, the glass of your flashlight and the rock of that alien planet are touching each other perfectly. These mysteries are too vast, too beautifully complex to explore alone. If this journey through the cosmos stirs something deep within your soul, if you feel that profound spark of curiosity that connects us all, please leave a like. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to The Taste of the Universe. We need minds and hearts like yours in this community to keep unraveling the universe together. Let us push this logic even further. I want to make sure you see exactly how wild this architecture truly is. Think about the light from the Big Bang, the ancient fading radiation from the fiery birth of the universe that is still washing over us today. We look through our massive radio telescopes and we see light that we measured to be almost 14 billion years old. We think of it as ancient history, an exhausting marathon across the cosmos finally reaching our modern instruments. But from the perspective of that ancient light, the Big Bang and the moment it hits your telescope mirror are the exact same event happening in the exact same instant. It was born and it died in a single, timeless flash. It does not know the universe expanded. It does not know that galaxies spun into existence, that stars burned out, that dinosaurs walked the earth, or that you and I are sitting here right now trying to understand its nature. We see a universe filled with light bouncing across immense gulfs of empty space over billions of years, but the light itself experiences a completely flat, two-dimensional universe, where everything that will ever happen to it has already happened at exactly the same time. We have stripped away time and we have stripped away distance for the photon, but this leaves us staring straight into the jaws of a brutal paradox. We can measure the speed of light. We know it takes 8 minutes for light to reach the Earth from the Sun. If light experiences no time, why do we experience a delay? If the photon believes it arrived instantly, why do we have to wait? We are faced with a contradiction that seems impossible to reconcile. If I stand outside on a bright afternoon and feel the warmth of the sun on my skin, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the light energy took roughly 8 minutes to cross the empty void from our star to the Earth. My instruments prove it. My mathematics prove it. Yet, as we just established together, the particle of light itself felt absolutely no time pass on that journey. How can the same physical journey take 8 minutes and 0 seconds simultaneously? How can both of these things be absolutely true in the same universe? This is where our rigid, ordinary human common sense fights violently against the beautiful flexibility of nature. We are desperate for there to be one true objective reality. We want an absolute referee to step down from the heavens. Look at the photon, look at us, and declare exactly who is right and who is wrong. Is the trip 8 minutes long, or is it instantaneous? But nature refuses to give us a master clock. The universe does not have a background rhythm that everyone agrees on. To solve this paradox, we have to let go of the idea that time is a universal blanket covering all of us equally. I want you to think about a very simple question. What does the word now mean to you? When you say right now, you feel perfectly confident that you are describing a single, freezing moment that the entire universe shares. You imagine that as you snap your fingers at that exact same instant, a rock is tumbling on Mars and a star is exploding in the Andromeda Galaxy. You believe in a universal shared present moment? But I must tell you that shared now is a complete illusion. It is a biological trick played on us by our slow-moving brains. Because space and time are physically connected, and because motion through space changes your motion through time, every single observer in the universe carries their own personal clock and their own personal ruler. If two things are moving at different speeds, they literally experience a completely different reality. Imagine you are standing on a train platform, and a long, high-speed train rushes past you. Just as the middle of the train passes your eyes, two lightning bolts strike the ground, one at the very front of the train and one at the very back. From your perspective on the platform, the strikes happen at the exact same time. But what about a passenger sitting inside the middle of that speeding train? Because they are rushing toward the front lightning strike and speeding away from the back one, the light from the front strike reaches their eyes first, from their reality. The front of the train was struck before the back. Who is right? Did the lightning strike at the same time, or did one happen first? The only honest, mathematically pure answer I can give you is this: both realities are completely real. Simultaneous is not a property of the universe, it is intensely personal. Now, scale that realization up to our ultimate speed limit. When you and I measure the speed of light, we are anchored in our slow, heavy frame of reference on Earth. We are using our personal watches and our earthly rulers. In our reality, space stretches out to 150 million kilometers between us and the sun. In our reality, our watches tick away the seconds, and so we watch the photon cross that vast space, and we record an 8-minute delay. Our measurement is absolutely correct for our slice of reality. But the photon does not share our slice of reality. The photon has given up all its time to travel at the absolute speed limit because its clock has stopped. The very concept of speed loses all mathematical meaning from the perspective of the light itself. To measure speed, you must be able to count the seconds ticking by. Without time, there is no speed. Therefore, a photon does not experience a journey. From the reality of the light, there is no empty space to cross. It is not flying through the dark. Instead, it exists as a rigid, timeless bridge in spacetime. When an atom in the blazing furnace of the sun vibrates and releases energy, and an atom in the retina of your eye absorbs that exact same energy, the universe folds to connect those two events. In the pure geometry of the cosmos, the creation of the light and the absorption of the light are literally touching each other. The photon is simply the knot that ties those two events together. The paradox vanishes when we stop demanding that the photon experience reality the way we do. We see a journey that takes 8 minutes. The light sees a single, unified, instantaneous event. Both are perfectly true. But if we accept this architecture, if we accept that time is personal and that light forms instant bridges across reality, we are forced to confront an even more terrifying consequence. What happens if we try to beat the light? What happens if we try to push past that barrier and outrun the frozen clock? This is where the universe stops being merely strange and begins to actively dismantle the logic of cause and effect. I want you to imagine a beautifully orchestrated game of billiards. You strike the white cue ball. It rolls across the green felt. It slams into the red ball with a sharp crack, and the red ball flies in the corner pocket. It is a simple, perfect sequence. The strike causes the collision, and the collision causes the pocket. This is cause and effect. It is the absolute bedrock of our sanity. We believe, deep in our bones, that the cause must always happen before the effect. But what if I told you that the speed of light is not just a limit on how fast things can move? What if I told you that the speed limit of the universe is the only mechanism that protects the order of cause and effect? We just established that because time is flexible. Now is a deeply personal illusion. If observers are moving at different speeds, they can fiercely disagree about the order of events. In our lightning strike example, the man on the platform saw them hit at exactly the same time, but the man on the speeding train saw the front hit first. They are disagreeing about the when. But nature has a strict safety net. As long as everything in the universe moves slower than the speed of light, observers can only disagree about events that are too far apart to instantly influence each other. They will never disagree about cause and effect. Even if the man on the train sees the universe ticking differently, he will still see you strike the white cue ball before the red ball goes into the pockets. The timeline might bend, but it will never break. Now, watch what happens to the math when you shatter that speed limit. Let us say you manage to invent a faster-than-light spaceship. You want to travel from Earth to a distant star system, and you plan to fly at 10 times the speed of light. You push the throttle forward, and you tear through the fabric of space-time, arriving at the distant star in what feels to you like mere days. In your frame of reference on the ship, everything seems fine. You left on a Monday, and you arrived on a Thursday. But remember the rule: motion through space eats away at motion through time. When you hit exactly the speed of light, your time completely stopped. What happens when you go past it? When you exceed the total amount of speed allowed in spacetime, the mathematics do not just freeze. The equations flip. The very geometry of reality forces your timeline into a hard reverse. To an observer back on Earth looking through a powerful telescope, watching your journey, the sequence of events violently falls apart because the light coming from your ship is fundamentally restricted by the speed limit. The light carrying the image of your arrival will reach Earth before the light carrying the image of your departure. To the universe around you, your effect has preceded your cause. From the perspective of a different observer moving through space, your journey at warp speed would look entirely backward. They would see you arrive at the distant star before you even boarded the ship on Earth. The red billiard ball would leap out of the corner pocket, roll across the table, and strike the white cue ball. If faster-than-light travel is possible, then time travel into the past is not just possible, it is absolutely mandatory. And if you can travel into the past, you can completely shatter the foundation of reality. You could send a signal backward in time to destroy your own spaceship before you ever press the launch buttons. If the ship is destroyed before launch, how did it send the signal back to destroy itself? The universe violently crashes against its own paradox. These mysteries are too vast, too beautifully complex to explore alone. If this journey through the cosmos stirs something deep within your soul, if you feel that profound spark of curiosity that connects us all, please leave a like. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to The Taste of the Universe. We need minds and hearts like yours in this community to keep unraveling the universe together. This is why physicists treat the speed limit of light with such profound reverence. It is not an arbitrary traffic law enforced by the cosmos. The speed of light is the speed of causality itself. It is the maximum rate at which reality is allowed to happen. It is the absolute limit of how fast the universe can inform itself that an event has occurred. Light does not just travel fast. Light sets the boundary of what is logically possible, but there is a haunting question waiting for us in the shadows of this revelation. We know light has massless perfection, completely untethered from the drag of time. We know we are slow, massive beings trapped in the dragging current of the ticking clock. But what happens if we look inward? What if the universe forces this cosmic speed limit upon the very atoms that make up our bodies? We are made of matter. You can look down at your hands right now, feel the weight of your own body, feel the solid chair beneath you. This feeling of weight of substance is what we call mass. And mass is the physical anchor that chains us to the relentless flow of time. I want you to imagine trying to push a heavy car resting in neutral on a perfectly flat, paved road. At first, it takes a tremendous amount of effort to break it free. But once it starts rolling, you can push it faster and faster with a steady, rhythmic exertion. Now, imagine that as the car rolls faster, the metal itself begins to change. The faster the car moves, the heavier it gets. Not just a little bit heavier, but massively, exponentially heavier. Soon you are not pushing a car, you are trying to push a freight train. then you are trying to push a mountain. No matter how hard you strain, no matter how much energy you pour into your aching arms, the object becomes so violently heavy that your pushing does absolutely nothing. This is not a bizarre thought experiment. This is the brutal, everyday reality of the universe. It is the hard truth of what it means to exist as a physical, heavy being. When you try to accelerate any object that has mass, whether it is a thrown baseball, a nuclear rocket ship, or your own physical body, you have to give it energy. In our slow, everyday world, that energy translates smoothly into speed, but as you push closer and closer to the speed of light, the rules of the game fundamentally alter, because the universe strictly forbids anything from breaking the speed of causality. It has a built-in defense mechanism to stop you dead in your tracks. As you approach the speed of light, the energy you pump into your rocket ship stops turning into forward speed. Instead, according to the most famous equation in all of physics, E equals mc squared. Energy and mass are the exact same thing. They are completely interchangeable currencies in nature. So, as you pour terrifying amounts of engine power into trying to break the speed limit, the universe takes that energy and converts it directly into mass. Your ship becomes physically heavier. Its resistance to being pushed forward grows toward infinity. If you somehow try to reach the exact speed of light, the mathematics deliver a crushing verdict. Your mass would become perfectly infinite. It would require an infinite amount of energy. Far more energy than exists in all the burning stars of the entire cosmos combined, just to push your single human body exactly to the speed limit. Nature simply drops an impossible wall in front of us. You can never go exactly the speed of light. You can get to 99%. You can get to 99.99%. But that final fraction of a hair is forever locked away from anything that possesses even the tiniest speck of mass. We are fundamentally trapped. We are condemned to travel slower than the universe's ultimate speed, and because we must travel slower than light, we are condemned to experience time. Remember our golden rule? Spending motion on space leaves less motion for time. The photon has no mass. It spends everything on space, so its clock freezes. But you and I, because of our heavy, clumsy mass, we are permanently barred from spending all our motion on space. We are forced by the laws of physics to keep a massive reserve of our universal motion constantly flowing through time. This means we must age. We must wait. We must remember a past that is gone forever and guess at a future that has not yet happened. We are locked inside the slow, dragging machinery of cause and effect, waiting for the light of the universe to finally reach our eyes. There is a profound, almost tragic poetry to this physical law. The very substance that allows you to exist, the atoms that build your heart, your brain, and your memories, is the exact same substance that guarantees your mortality. If you were made of pure light, you would be immortal. You would shoot across the universe in a single, timeless flash, never aging a single fraction of a second. But you would also never experience a sunset. You would never feel the warmth of another person's hand. You would never have the time to sit and wonder about the beautiful mysteries of the cosmos. To have a mind that can understand the universe, you must have a brain made of heavy matter. To have matter, you must have mass. And to have mass, you must surrender to the relentless ticking clock. Our awareness, our entire conscious human experience, is bought and paid for with our mortality. We trade eternity for the privilege of experiencing a single, beautiful, fleeting lifetime. But there is one final piece to this puzzle, a final, terrifying curtain to pull back. We have talked about light crossing the empty void. We have talked about time slowing down. But what happens when the fabric of reality itself is violently worked? What happens to time? And what happens to our frozen beam of light when we approach the edge of a black hole? What happens when gravity becomes so monstrously strong that the absolute speed limit of the universe is no longer fast enough to save you? I want you to think about a river. Imagine a wide, lazy river gently flowing toward a massive, sheer waterfall. If you are swimming in the gentle currents far upstream, you can easily paddle in any direction. You feel perfectly in control, but as you drift closer to the edge, the river speeds up. The water begins to grip you. If you are a strong swimmer, you might still be able to fight the current and swim upstream back to safety, but there is a point of no return. The exact clip of the waterfall, at that precise line, the water is plunging downward so violently, so incredibly fast, that no fish, no matter how powerful, could ever swim against it. This is exactly how a black hole works. Gravity is not some invisible rope pulling things together. Gravity is the physical bending, the violent warping of the fabric of space-time itself. A massive star collapsing creates a gravity well so incredibly deep that it drags the very river of space and time down into it. If I parked a spaceship perfectly still, millions of miles away, and watched a brave friend fall toward a black hole, I would see something absolutely mind-breaking. Because extreme gravity bends time just as effectively as extreme speed does. As my friend gets closer to the monstrous crushing weight of the singularity, their personal clock slows down relative to mine. I would watch their movements become sluggish, as if they were swimming through thick syrup. And then they reach the event horizon, the exact lip of the waterfall. At this terrifying boundary, the fabric of space is flowing inward at exactly the speed of light. And remember, absolutely nothing can travel faster than the speed limit of causality. If my friend were to point a powerful flashlight perfectly outward, away from the black hole, the particles of light would be swimming at 300,000 kilometers per second against a river of space that is falling inward at exactly the same speed. The light is completely trapped. It is furiously swimming at the absolute ultimate speed limit of the universe, and it is going absolutely nowhere. It is hovering in place forever. But for me, watching from afar, the visual is even more haunting. As my friend hits that boundary, the gravity becomes so intensely warped that their time, from my earthly perspective, completely stops. I would never actually see them cross the edge into the dark. I would see them freeze forever, like a paused frame of a movie film. I would watch their image slowly stretch and fade into a dark, ghostly red. Forever trapped at the boundary of the abyss, the black hole literally murders the flow of time for anyone watching from the outside. These mysteries are too vast, too beautifully complex to explore alone. If this journey through the cosmos stirs something deep within your soul, if you feel that profound spark of curiosity that connects us all, please leave a like. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to the Taste of the Universe. We need minds and hearts like yours in this community to keep unraveling the universe together. We began our journey by looking at a simple beam of light from a distant star. We discovered that from the perspective of that tiny photon, the universe is a completely flat, frozen, timeless place where the beginning of a journey and its end are touching in the exact same instant. We learned that time is not a master clock on the wall, but a deeply personal, flexible experience. A tax we must pay for the heavy mass of our own physical bodies. And we stared into the abyss of a black hole, where gravity is so supreme that it stops time completely and swallows the very speed of causality. We are mortal beings. We are heavy, fragile, and bound to the relentless ticking of the clock. We are dragged from the past and pushed blindly into an unknown future. But I want you to look at what we have achieved. Together today, sitting here on a tiny, wet rock orbiting a very ordinary star, we have used our minds to step entirely outside the clock. We have imagined the perspective of immortal light. We have mapped the dark edges of the universe where time itself dies. We cannot outrun the speed of light, but our curiosity, our fierce human desire to understand the beautiful machinery of reality, has no limit whatsoever. The physical universe may be strictly bound by rigid laws, but the human mind remains its most profound and brilliant exception.